Tenerife, the perfect tourist destination, amazing beaches, incredible natures, big party. But have you ever wondered what is the history of Tenerife? Welcome to this video. I'm George from the channel Untraveled Roads, and in today's video we're gonna discover the history and the past of Tenerife. So make yourself comfortable, grab a cup of tea and enjoy this video.
If you're new to this channel and you just stumbled over this video, first of all, welcome. I hope you will join this amazing community. Summer 2021 I decided to change my life and to travel around the world. And since then, well, one adventure is chasing the next one, and it was an epic experience so far. Right now I'm on a mission in the Canary Islands. I try to travel these islands in the most purest and authentic way possible, and trying to escape the mass tourism. And currently I'm located in the very north of Tenerife, in a small town called Bajamar. A small town famous for perfect surfing conditions and natural pools. Besides that, the 2,140 inhabitants can also enjoy an amazing beach, stunning views on the Anaga Massif and amazing sunsets.
We start our journey in Orotava, and I'm here in Bajamar now taking the bus to Orotava. So I arrived already in La Orotava, and I need to say the bus system in the Canary Islands, but especially here in Tenerife, is sensational good. It's basically super easy to go anywhere on this island. Alright, why do we actually start our journey here in La Orotava? Basically, during the time of the Guanches, it was the largest and richest areas and the last stronghold against the Spanish conquerors.
Okay, but step by step. Before we get to know who the guanches were, let's look at the early days of Tenerife. The earliest known human settlements date to around 200 before Christ by the Berbers. The Berbers are an ethnic group indigenous to North Africa. Small side note here, the term Berber comes from the Greek word barbaros, meaning barbarian. And the Romans also used the word to refer to their northern neighbors in Germania. The Berbers settling in Tenerife were known as the guanches. Technology-wise, those settlers can be compared to the people of the Stone Age, although with a very rich culture. The political system of the Guanches varied from island to island, and some even had an elected government. The Guanches had also a law system. Someone accused by a crime had to attend a public trial in a tagoro, a public court. Tenerife had a unique political system. The island was divided into 9 small kingdoms, called menceyatos, each ruled by a king or mense. The menceyato de Taoro, ruled by Bencomo, was the most powerful and richest mense, and as I said before, also the last stronghold against the Spanish conqueror. And this is the region where I am right now, and also where La Orotava belonged to. The Spanish had difficulties conquering Tenerife, and it was the last of the Canary Islands that fell into the Spanish hands, even though the conquerors date the conquest of Tenerife between 1494 by the landing of Alfonso Fernandez de Lugo and 1496 by the conquest of the island, so roughly in 2 years. But today we know that the attempts to annex the island date back to at least 1464, so it took at least 32 years to conquer Tenerife. This was mainly because of the strong responses from the Guanches to the conqueror. For example, in the first battle of Acentejo, the Guanches defeated the Castilian forces. Eventually, although, also the last kingdom fell, mainly because of superior technologies, and the Guanches surrendered to the Crown of Castile in 1496.
Yo estaría, ay, la persona más feliz del mundo, te quieres pa' la vida, ay, la persona más feliz del mundo, te quieres pa' la vida.
After La Orotava fell into the hands of the Spanish conquerors in the 15th century, the city actually began to flourish and to expand and become a proper city. And in the 17th and 18th century especially, noblemen from all over the world, but especially Spanish, Italian and Flemish, began to move here and got attracted to this city. And here we should be able to see the oldest of the Canarian architecture. So let's go and let's discover.
And that's why I thought La Orotava would be the perfect start for my journey through the history of Tenerife. Let me say on this point, sorry, I'm a bit of a nerd about art and history. So, speaking of Canarian architecture, what is actually the architecture? One would assume simply following the Spanish Gothic architecture from the time. But is this all? Well, not really. Architecture in the Canary Islands has a clear influence from mainland Spain, specifically from Andalusia. So churches here can be found in a Gothic, Baroque or Renaissance style. In the 18th century, also with neoclassic touches, since it became into fashion. But the island also used the available materials, and residents preferred whitewashed exteriors over heavy stone and pastel-colored houses over dark wood. Especially in La Orotava, you can find a lot of typical colonial style houses, having the typical wooden balcony. The houses although vary in different pastel tones. In between you can find buildings like this. The Canary was built by influences from the Mudashar style, a typical style of Islamic elements fitting into Christian architecture. The building is based on the ground plan of a basilica. The interior is strongly influenced by Baroque architecture. Today this monastery is, by the way, a music school.
One thing that I noticed was that actually all the buildings have a different purpose now. For example, the church before is actually now a music school, and this building here also with a wooden balcony is now a bank.
The historic center of La Orotava was declared, sorry from a Spanish, conjunto histórico, the legal designation in Spain for heritage listing, in order to protect the old town. This impressive building on top of a hill and surrounded by flower gardens that make the building look even bigger and more majestic was built in 1928 by a couple. A palace of dimension that were unmatched at this time. Sadly, that was all that I was allowed to see before I got kicked out. Anyways, let's explore further.
This is Jardins Marquesado de Quinta Roja, and I really hope I pronounced it right. I practiced 10 times and probably it's still wrong. This garden here was built in the 19th century and has a really cool story that I found out. Apparently there was a marquis and he was accused of being a freemason, and because of that he was not allowed to be buried in the central cemetery. So what he did, he built basically this whole garden here, and somewhere here he should also be buried, so let's find his grave. But really cool story actually. Right, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to be here, but there were some signs, so I guess it's okay. The view is just incredible, stunning. There behind the clouds is Mount Teide, and I'm here at an old mill that was built in the 18th century and is still active today. And it's producing coffee, which is a traditional flour for the Canaries or for Tenerife, and it's still produced here, so it's an active mill. And I think it's the first time in my life that I see a mill that is still active and still producing flour. Amazing. It's really cool. It's a little bit too late already. Apparently this house closes at 6 and it's shortly after 6. But normally it's possible to go inside, sit in the garden and admire the balconies from the inside, which must be really amazing. There's also a small coffee, but yeah, now it's closed anyway.
In the 19th century, the tourist industry broke through. La Orotava was at that time a leading cultural center, accommodating many travelers. Writers like William Wilde or Alexander von Humboldt enjoyed the natural environment and the culture of La Orotava at that time. Okay, the day slowly got to its end, but did we really learn more about the architecture, history or culture? While I continued strolling on the streets, I didn't feel satisfied and I wanted to dig deeper. If you walk on the street, you easily get overwhelmed with all these beautiful colonial style houses, with the wooden frames and wooden balconies. And you might miss the details. Each wooden frame and balcony is holding some piece of art, fine pictures and sculptures graved into the woods. Anyways, continuing on the street, I found some of these trees, the dragon tree, and they can be found in Cape Verde, Madeira, but also the Canary Islands. Tenerife hosts the probably oldest of the dragon trees. Experts estimated up to 3,000 years old. The name dragon tree comes from the fact that if you cut it, a red substance comes out, which is said to be the dry blood of dragons. This of course inspired mythological stories. For example, it is said that when Hercules was sent to get the golden fruit from the garden of the dragon, when he killed the dragon, from his blood the tree appeared. But besides of that, the dragon tree was also sacred to the guanches. The blood of the dragon tree has been coveted for centuries, and even Stradivarius used it to color, enrich and create a resonance in his famous violins.
It's getting slowly dark and I'm not sure what to do. Actually, I was thinking to check for a hotel and then continue in the morning a bit. I would like to see the cemetery and 2 other places, but yeah, it's too dark now. And yeah, tomorrow I also want to show you a different place and go a bit deeper into the history. I did it, I booked a hotel and I will stay tonight here in La Orotava. And this gives me actually a possibility to show you something else and to explore something else, which is Guachinche. It's sort of a local restaurant, but not really like a commercial regular restaurant. It's like a really local place, and the people there produce their own wine, and they also only have certain ingredients that they are using. And it should be really nice. It's something that actually is only in Tenerife, I think a little bit in Gran Canaria, but mainly in Tenerife. So I'm really excited for this. I'm now having a bit of water and then I will head to the hotel and I will show you around and then we go for dinner.
I got really lucky with the hotel I found. It was the last room of a beautiful hotel directly in the city center. And guess what? It was one of the houses we saw the whole day. Alright, welcome in my room.
It's actually really nice. It's like one of these houses that I basically looked the whole day at with the wooden balconies and so on, and now I'm in one of them. So it's pretty cool. The opening of the hotel was really nice. They have this mobile app and you can control the keys with it. Pretty cool. Yeah, all in all it looks really nice. It's a bit pricey, at least for my standards. It's around 60 euros per night. I would have hoped to have something cheaper, but anyways, it's directly in the city center, really beautiful hotel. So for this, it's actually not pricey. And also breakfast is included, so it's just, I'm cheap. Good, so I will try to get some food now and try the local wine, the local restaurant. And as I say, tomorrow we're gonna head to explore some more parts here in the village. I definitely want to see the cemetery. And maybe in this house that was today locked because it was already too late, maybe we can have a coffee in the morning there. And then we head to some more places, discovering more about the history of Tenerife. And for me personally, it is really nice. It feels a little bit like a holiday. I really enjoy it actually. And anyhow, as always, if you like this video, please give a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. This small gesture makes it possible to make projects like this. Thank you so much, and now let's go for dinner.
This dinner was definitely well deserved. The place was located outside of the city center, a few hundred meters of elevation. So before enjoying the food, I started my 20 minutes hike.
Cheers! So, I arrived in Guachinche. These places are basically super local, and that's a thing that's actually only typically for Tenerife. How this works is basically they have a couple of weeks open per year, I think 4 months in total per year, and they are actually producing the wine themselves. So their core business is the production of the wine. The food is very simple. They use everything from the local community or what they are producing themselves. So I'm super excited. It's the place itself looks like a living room. It's like really nice. Let's see how it will be.
Original guachinches were mounted in a room or garage in the family house, where the wife of the winemaker offered some tapas made in the family kitchen to accompany their homemade wine. In these places you can try and experience unique local wines and traditional cuisine like homemade stews, pork ribs or goat meat. The guachinches have emerged as an offshoot of the wine production activities and not as proper restaurants on a professional basis. For this reason these places were not regulated and didn't pay any taxes. Over time with legal guachinches, plenty of clandestine Florentine establishments started to appear, which served cheap wine from Latin America as their own, and actually functioned as restaurants, but without the obligations to comply with the fiscal and health requirements applicable for restaurants. That's when the Canarian government issued a decree that's introducing a series of rules, like that the wine must come from a vineyard belonging to the person running the Guachinche, and limiting the opening period to maximum 4 months per year, as well as limiting the amount of dishes. With this decree, the Canarian government is trying to preserve this local tradition. Traditionally, the Guachinche opening day is the day of St. Andrew on 30th of November, and usually they stay open till early spring, either when they run out of their wine or they reach the maximum permitted opening time.
So the food was so much, but it was really good. Amazing food. I also love the place here. It looks like, I don't know, it looks like a dining room from a very big family. But it's super beautiful, and as I say, the food is amazing. And also the wine is very good. Good. So I will finish my wine, get the check, and head back to the hotel. Good morning. I slept like a baby and now I need to get myself ready for hitting the road. As I say, today I want to see here in Orotava still the cemetery, and maybe in this house that was locked yesterday or closed. Maybe we can have a coffee there and then we head to the next place. So I arrived in the balcony house. It's amazing, it's really beautiful, and I show you a bit around. It was apparently a regular house where people lived. I thought actually here's a coffee, but no. So yeah, let's explore a bit. There on the right side is the living room. Let me show you.
Unfortunately, the cemetery is closed for visitors because of COVID-19 measurements. A little bummer, but there's still the balcony house, and I want to take you to another amazing city and place. This house, built 1632, has 3 stories. Besides showing how the people lived at the time, it is also an artwork complex, where locals show their craft.
It was really interesting to see how the people lived and basically see the inside of these balcony houses. Now I will leave La Orotava and head to the next town, which is Garachico. And this was actually the most important harbor of Tenerife and sort of the entry point of this island. But in 1700 it got destroyed, and the whole port basically got destroyed because of a volcano eruption. And one castle should have survived the eruption, so I hope to see it. And after this eruption, basically the whole commercial center moved from Garachico to Puerto de la Cruz. So I'm really curious how it is there. Also, which kind of architecture and how does it look like, especially after it was destroyed. So I will head to the bus now, and yeah, let's go.
Big parts of Garachico were destroyed by volcanic outbreaks. I hope to get there an understanding of the impact that the volcanoes have on the daily life of the Canarian peoples. Tenerife still has an active volcano that is predicted to erupt again in the next years or decades.
Welcome to Garachico. I arrived, and I need to say I really fell in love already with this town. If you remember before, I told you that there was a volcano eruption that destroyed the port, but also big parts of the city. All the coastal line, all the black stones, all the lava stones are still from this eruption that happened in the 1700s.
Te esperaré hasta mi día. Te esperaré todo mi día. Te esperaré hasta mi día. Te esperaré todo mi día. Todo el día y todo
From the ridges that you see here, once lava was running down till the sea.
It's lava rock formations, they have actually a name, they are called El Inferno, which means something like hell. And this is basically the old port.
In the past, Garachico was the main port of Tenerife. 113 years ago, when Teide erupted last time, this changed. The port, but also almost the whole city were destroyed. By looking back at the past, it is considered that in Tenerife there is gonna be a volcano eruption every 100 years. This does not necessarily mean that the Teide peak will erupt, as the lava is searching for the easiest way out. In case of Garachico, it happened that the El Canary volcano was the easiest way out. Even though this volcano is very small in comparison to the main cone, it still produced a lot of damage. Until today you can see where the lava ran into the ocean. Since 100 years already have passed, people expect an eruption at any time. There's an institution across the Canary Islands monitoring the activities of the volcanoes by studying the earthquakes that happen. With this data it is possible to predict when a volcano eruption will happen. That's how people can prepare in the possible limits to prevent loss of human lives and reduce damage. The last prediction was made 2017, and the researchers predicted that La Palma and Tenerife will suffer from a volcano eruption in the close future. By close, we are talking about less than 10 years. Nevertheless, it took people still by surprise, as Cumbre Vieja and La Palma did erupt so soon and so fast. Knowing this and keeping this in mind gave me a strange feeling, but at the same time a lot of respect to Mother Nature and to the Canarian people who live daily with the threat of eruption.
The architecture in Garachico is actually very similar to La Orotava, with the wooden frames, the colonial style, and also the wooden balconies. I really enjoyed it. Also, this town is really well preserved. One of the reasons why I wanted to visit it was actually to see how the city was rebuilt and how it changed after big parts of it got destroyed from the volcano and from the eruption. Also, how it basically changed after the economical importance moved from here to Puerto de la Cruz after the harbor here was destroyed. All in all, I really enjoyed it. Both towns, it was really beautiful and an amazing experience, and also very interesting to dig deeper in the history of Tenerife. I hope you really enjoyed it. If you did, please give a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. That supports me and makes more projects like this possible. Also, let me know down in the comments if you want to see more videos like this, if you enjoy exploring together with me certain places and cities. For now, I want to really say thank you for watching and see you next week for a new adventure. Ciao, ciao.
Hasta mi día, te esperaré todo mi día. Te esperaré.